Hello, Shera.
Hello, Phoebe.
Yeah, it's great to have you in our podcast today.
It's lovely to be here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're really eager to learn your insight, your perspective in management consulting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Today we have an important personality by the name Shera Haliczer. She's the CEO and Chief Promotion Officer in 3P, Engage 3P Consulting. Today we're going to look at how AI is impacting the landscape of management consulting. Shara, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so today we're going to see how the podcast is going to go. It's going to go just three questions. It's going to go around there. So before we dive in, we'll start with your background, the
Sure.
industry trend you're seeing. Then we'll discuss your current challenges and the vision you want engage three Ps for the next 12 months.
Mhm.
Then we'll finally wrap up if there's any necessary step by exploring any necessary step. Is that the good use of our time?
Oh, I think it'll be great. I think we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. I like that. And
Yeah.
again, it's gonna be fun because again, it's not an interview,
Right.
it's a discussion. So it's gonna be based on how much you want to share and feel free. Yeah, and it's gonna last for 30 minutes. If you're ready to go beyond that, we are ready. But we're not gonna
Okay.
take your time. Okay, so can you share a bit about your role, overview of your professional journey and how it fits into the bigger picture of Engage 3P?
Sure. It's funny. I was just talking to someone earlier today about this. What was my journey to get here, to found Engage 3P and start it, which I did about halfway through last year, about
Awesome.
May-ish around last year.
Mhm.
Um, this is not my first time as an entrepreneur. I've done that in the past. I started my career doing labor and employment work. I went into recruiting, into legal recruiting, went back into law firms as an HR leader, and spent a number of years leading major law firms in New York in HR, and did some HR consulting after that, and ended up oddly because of relationships. I mean, we don't know how we're going to end up. Ended up
Yeah,
in HR technology, and
awesome.
I spent over 10 years. I used to say lived on Delta Airlines and in Marriott hotels, traveling the world, uh, working as a strategic advisor to global companies about
Mhm.
HR technology. When I left that company at the end of 2020, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do next. I thought I knew what I didn't want to do, but I was trying to figure it out. And it took me a few years to get there.
Mhm.
My background, along with HR, I have a very significant change management background. I like to now call that change embodiment. We'll talk about
Mhm.
that a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And, wanted to create something really special, I took everything that I learned along the way and said, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, and what am I seeing in organizations that was really frustrating me.
Yeah,
And that's how Engage 3P came about. I took all of the background that I have around people, process, and then because
yeah,
I had 3Ps,
yeah.
platforms, technology,
Mhm.
and with the growth of AI, which
Mhm.
interestingly enough, and I had forgotten this really about 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, when I
Mhm.
was at Infor, we were looking at AI. We didn't call it AI at the
Yeah.
time. We had a meeting with IBM about Watson and how
Mhm.
Watson would be the underpinning for bots for HR technology, right? And it's so funny because it was only a couple of months ago that I realized that was the conversation I was having. I put the two and two together. So I've actually been in this space for
Mhm.
over a decade. Um, what I've also realized is that, listen, there is no company that doesn't have people in it,
Yeah.
right? And so we have to look at this, I think, in a much different way than the way we've looked at it in the past.
Mm.
I firmly believe that the way you get the best out of people in an organization is to treat them well, to
Yeah.
create an environment of psychological safety,
Mhm.
to really draw out the opportunity to make people thrive. I've
Mm.
led big organizations, I've led small organizations. It doesn't seem to matter
Mhm.
the size of the company, right? And so I wanted to be able to create an opportunity for companies to learn what I've seen successful in organizations around the world and
Mhm.
what I've been able to do with the teams that I've led. And so
Yeah.
that's how I came up with this.
Yeah, awesome. That's very good. Okay, so what does a typical day look like for you in Engage 3P?
So right now is a new business.
Hmm.
A typical day is a lot of sales and marketing, right? Because it's a very different world today.
Yeah.
When I first started recruiting, when I first opened my recruiting firm in New York,
Hmm.
I was in a big building. I was in what's called the Lipstick Building. And there were a number of other, law firms in that building at the time. And I would, go and knock on doors and see people, or I'd talk to colleagues. We'd have lunch. We'd go have a coffee. I mean, it was a very face to face, or I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm going to be in your building. Can I come say hi?
Yeah.
That's gone now, right?
Yeah.
Not just because of Corona, but nobody answers the phone. The one thing that I'm finding, having started a new business with a new domain, is that my emails are bouncing or going into spam. So I'm spending an enormous amount of time on LinkedIn, sending messages, trying to connect to the people that I know, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's important. And trying to get my message across
Okay.
and trying to help people understand what I do and how I do it and get, do sales. I mean, that's, ultimately that's what it is. We all are selling something, right?
Yeah,
It's part of what we
absolutely.
do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
So,
in a nutshell, yeah. So go ahead. Sorry. Go
oh
ahead.
no. So that's, the trick to, creating the business and driving the business. And then when I'm working with clients, it's really then that discovery work, right? I
Yeah.
am I am authentically nosy. I
Yeah.
admit it. I
That is sweet.
love to learn. Yeah, I love to learn about what people are doing and what's happening.
Hmm.
And a former friend of mine, for a current friend, former colleague, said to me one day, I'm going to call you the why detective, and it
I
stuck.
saw that. I wanted to ask
Yeah,
you.
it came from a very dear friend who said, you're always asking this.
Hmm.
And that comes from genuinely being interested,
Yeah.
authentically being interested, and
Hmm.
wanting to get to the heart of what's going on. I don't take the surface level. So I'll give you a really great example. If if we're talking about, human resources, we're talking about people, and
Yeah.
I'll say, what's your turnover? Right? And they'll say, oh, it's 20% or whatever it is, right? What the number is. A
Hmm.
typical consultant's going to be like, great, check the box. I know that information, right? Let's go
Yeah.
to the next step. What I'm going to say to them is, okay, let's talk about that,
Yeah.
right? Let's understand, why is that good for you? Is it not good for you? Do you want it to be better? What would it mean for that? I'm also a value engineer. So I spent years and years and years building the business cases to tell companies how they can afford and what they're going to get
Hmm.
when they do this program, this, software, et cetera. And the other real influence for me in doing this business is that I would sell multi-million dollar ERP systems. I would sell change management systems. I would help them implement change management system, change management process. I wasn't seeing what we thought we were going to get, right? And even sometimes if they saw it financially, there wasn't a return on the intention.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Two very different things. Return on
Mm.
investment is one thing. That's
Hmm.
hard dollars.
Hmm.
Return on intention is, what was the purpose of it? So one of the things that I realized, again, in kind of figuring all this out, what
Hmm.
leaders tend to do, and I understand why,
Hmm.
is they are following up or responding to the loudest noise in the room.
Hmm.
Is that really the problem at hand? Is that really what needs to be solved for now? And
Hmm.
that's where I go deeper. That's where we have that really honest conversation to say, I'm not sure, right? Because what is the squeaky wheel? What is that
Hmm.
expression, right?
Hmm.
It's not always the right thing for an organization to do. So
Yeah.
I look at all this. The thing that was most important to me when I started my business and how I can do that is that I am agnostic. I don't represent any software companies. I don't represent any brands. I don't represent anyone,
Yeah.
because I wanted to be able to have that really honest conversation to get to the heart of what they need. And then we
Yeah.
work together to make that happen.
Yeah. Awesome. That's
Yeah.
very eye-opening. So in today's rapid evolving business landscape, what is the single most critical factor you've observed that either accelerate or hinder a company's momentum, and how does Engage 3P specifically address that in your consulting approach?
Sure. So I think it's a lot of the same. Now, you mentioned AI at the beginning. We can't not have we can't have a conversation today and not talk about AI.
Yeah.
And I get it. Yesterday, interestingly enough, on my LinkedIn Live, my dear friend Josh Allen Dykstra was on, and it's available on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and he talked about, he put in a really amazing context. He said that this is the first technology that has disrupted white collar first, right? And throughout history, the Industrial Revolution, every other revolution, it was the blue collar worker that was most impacted and jobs were lost. That's not the case now. However, what this is opening up is an opportunity that we've never had before. So I love to say all the time, I know this because I've done the tests and it's all true. If you want to crush my soul, if that's your intention, put me in a room by myself and make me do spreadsheets. I'm out. Okay? I'm out. And so to have functionality, to have a tool that can remove that kind of work from my life every day, what that's doing is it's creating space for me to thrive in ways that I never had time to do before. So I can only imagine from an administrative perspective, if the AI is doing the stuff in the middle, the administrative, the heavy lifting of that kind of work, it, as Josh says, it pushes the work that people are doing to the edges, the beginning, right? And then the end. And that creates opportunity for so much creative work. So what I like to do is talk to leaders and say, okay, let's first discuss if the problem at hand and the solution that you're trying to solve for is cost reduction, and they think that AI is a great way to eliminate resources, and people are typically the most expensive resource in an organization. Let's have that conversation. Let's understand where that is, right? And why that is, and how do we go about measuring that? And we can do that, right? That's very measurable. And in order to be successful in this journey of AI, let's make sure we're taking advantage of and even putting forward the most incredible opportunity to make people work so much better than they ever thought they could, right? So it's that preparation and understanding what AI can really do for a company. If my job, if I'm a sales rep in an organization and my job is dialing for dollars all day, and you think, and an organization thinks, well, I don't need that business development rep. I can hire an AI tool to dial for dollars. Well, what if that individual could do other things, develop relationships, follow up differently, come up with creative ways of doing something? Then it's a win-win, right? So it isn't, I think, this notion that it's a one-for-one, that we're going to put in AI and we're going to remove people. I think that's a mistake, right? And so that's what I'm talking to companies about today. Let's not just run to do something. So the other thing Josh said yesterday, and I have to say, I told him I'm stealing this. He said there was an old story about retailers, big retailers, that one of them, bought an escalator, put an escalator in the store to go, yeah. And all the other retailers were, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm going to get an escalator. And he said, but here's the problem. What a lot of people are doing is they're buying the escalator, only they live in a one-story building. Right? And I said, oh my gosh, you're right. We're going out, small business owners I'm seeing this with. I do workshops with small business owners, and they're saying I have, 13 different AI tools, and they're paying a lot of money. Why? Right? What do we do? So that race to be, I'm powered by AI, what does that really mean? And if it's just a sticker on your website or a sticker on your tool, that's not solving the problem either, right? So we want to be really smart, really creative. AI is here to stay. AI is wonderful. It is I use it every single day. I want to make sure my clients are being really smart, really strategic, and they can see the value across the board. That's important to me.
Yeah, it really that's a very good answer to that, and it makes a lot of sense. So, though you've mentioned a little bit of that, how has AI impacted your business strategy, the business and the strategy of Engaged 3Ps?
Yeah. So it's given me exactly that. It's given me the ability to do things I never could have done before, right? I can ask an LLM to do research for me. Now, we all know it needs to be checked. It needs to be validated. We know it isn't always right. But it's doing the heavy lifting that would normally have taken me hours. in building value models, right? Building these Excel spreadsheets and it can do that kind of thing. So I have to come up with what it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it can build those things in a way that would take me forever. So it's freeing up an enormous amount of my time. It's creating visuals that I never could have done. I don't know how to do it. I have zero skill. I did learn finally how to make a square picture into a round picture today, so I'm so excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But that just isn't my strong suit. So what I find AI is capable of doing is really being the yin to my yang and doing the things. So I'll give you a great example. I'm a big Claude user for business. I think for me that is driving a lot of value. And so I'll start a new chat and I'll keep doing things. And then I realize, wait a second, I've done a lot of work here. So I said to Claude, okay, I need you to go through the chat, every single chat for the last 45 days. And I want you to create a master task list of what I need to do. Amazing, right? It creates the spreadsheet, and then I go in and then I edit it, right? Oh no, that's not really a task, et cetera, et cetera. It gives me something to work from, and these are just small ways that are making me as an entrepreneur really work more smartly, so that I can spend more time on phone, meeting with clients, doing the real work, and not the other stuff, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So what is working well for you right now, and what has been frustrating?
I always like to start with the negative and end with the positive. So the most frustrating thing for me is what I said earlier, getting to people, right? So I have thousands of contacts, thousands of people I've worked with over the years. And I thought, oh, this will be simple. I'll send them an email and they'll respond. First they bounce. Then, so it's the wrong email. How do you find the email? You don't know how to get to the email. It's not on LinkedIn. That's their personal. I wouldn't want to send it to their personal. So I'm trying to find it. Then I send the emails and nothing happens. And I think, and then I find out they're in spam, right? Because there's so many of these blocks that are happening. I start to phone people. I think, okay, nobody answers the phone. Nobody listens to a voicemail. Do I send a WhatsApp? Do I leave a text? Like, the art of communicating with people and connecting with them is so difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm also finding, interestingly enough, the people that have responded are like, oh my God, this is great. I want to connect, blah, blah, blah. Finding the time, right? So I'm doing a lot of follow-up with that. LinkedIn, again, has been a major source for me. So the beauty of that has been that I've reconnected with people that I haven't talked to in ages. And so it's late nights of, individual messages. I had a really funny one happen. I worked with someone, about 15 years ago. He's in IT. And we were chatting. I sent him an email. He didn't get it. I sent him a personal message on LinkedIn. And I said, and we were going back and forth a little bit. And then he said to me, how do I know this isn't a bot? Prove to me that it's really you.
Oh my God.
And I said, okay, Adam. And I wrote some things that there's no way an AI would know, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely no way possible. So there's somebody who's in IT as a living and gets it and understands it. And then, interestingly enough, I started getting LinkedIn messages from someone that I worked with about 12 years ago. And it was clear that these were bots because he wasn't responding to my messages, to what I said. And there was no reference, like, oh, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while, et cetera. So I think that's all part of it, right? That's where it really gets difficult. And I think the best part is reconnecting with many people, having a chance to talk to people about their challenges, meeting new people along the way. And then kind of working through my own fears and my own challenges personally, starting another new business, and putting myself out there. It's all good. Yeah.
That sounds good. That's every one of us going through that stage and process. Yeah. So how do you currently measure the success of engaged repeats?
Yeah. So I'm going to take this back just a little bit. I have said my entire life, one thing, that I measure the success of my life, both personally and professionally, based on the relationships I build and maintain. That's how I measure success. If I look at and that's more important to me than anything, right? Because we're all about relationship, and that to me is what it's all about. As a business, I want clients who want to work with me, who like the work that I do. And so I'm looking for clients who want to look at things a little bit differently, right? Who aren't just looking for a rubber stamp, who aren't just interested in a management consultant coming in who's got their predefined, PowerPoints, and, they've rinsed and repeated the same thing over and over and over again in every company that they touch. So companies that come to me and say, listen, I really want to do the work. I really want to get to the heart of what's going on here. And the other thing that was really important to me is that we do it really quickly. I'm not interested in having been on the other side of that, having been in projects where, big consulting firms come in and it's 18 months later and we're still making decisions. I want to make sure that they know that I'm in here not to be there for 10 years, right? I want to come in, get the work done. And so when we can do that, when we can make decisions, when we can get to the heart of things, that's where the success comes in.
Okay, awesome. So again, which metrics are you focused on improving now?
Personally or for my clients?
Well, no, of course, you're in a job.
In my job.
Maybe, yeah. And engage 3 Ps.
In the 3 Ps. Yeah. So I look at everything across people, process, and or platform, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about where do we think the problem is, right? So I'll give you an example. A client phones me and says, we need new, I'll just use this because it's easy for me. We need new HR technology. We're on an old stack, we need it. And I'm going to say, yes, and, right? Let's understand what you really need. Let's look at all the factors around that. And let's make sure that's successful by doing the things that we need to do to prepare everything else, because the technology really comes last, right? In one case, they didn't really need new technology. Right? That really wasn't the issue. They could work really well where they were. This was a smaller company, less than 500 employees. New technology would have been great down the line. And I would say, let's wait it out a little bit more because the foundation wasn't there to make it successful. Right? So data is wonderful when it's real, when it brings value, when decisions can be made around it. And so AI is a perfect example of that. If companies are going to start implementing AI-driven processes in their organization, well, the data needs to be clean. That needs to be the very first thing that happens, right? Because you need to look at what are you telling this LLM or this agent to do, and if that data isn't good. So in order for a company to be successful, we've got to make sure that we're starting at a really good place to then drive the rest of what they're doing.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. In a world where AI is, okay, sorry about that. In a world where AI is automating decision making and operational tasks, how much of the fundamental role of a senior management or a manager be changed to remain relevant and drive human-centric innovation?
So the part of that statement that I would push back on respectfully is decision making. AI is not a decision maker, right? That's the point, right? So if AI can feed,
if I might stop it, sorry. The question is not that AI is okay, in a way, but the question is that people are making decisions quick on the kind of reaction that AI or pressure that AI is putting to them. That's the way. That's what I thought. Okay,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
But I would say that people are using AI to make decisions, right? And I think that is not a good idea. I think that, again, it's a speed thing, which is amazing, right? We're speeding up things that we couldn't do before. I think that can be phenomenal. That can be really valuable for organizations, especially when it comes to competitive issues, right? I think the challenge is, again, the same thing. Let's make sure it's correct. Let's take a breath for 1 second and make sure that the information is right and we're making the right decision. And then secondary to that, use this incredible tooling to focus on the things that are really most important. So like I said earlier, don't just solve for the loudest noise. Let's take a moment, let's take a breath and figure out what's going to benefit the most. So I think that you said it just there, which is this is moving really quickly. So what is it going to do to senior leadership? It's going to allow them to be more creative. It's going to allow them to engage differently within the organization. How many times have we seen senior leadership not walk the room, not walk around the office, not be in touch? I have an incredible story when I was selling HR software, I used to go and do what I, especially when I worked with retail clients, I would do what I would call remember the undercover boss show where people would, so I would go to a few stores. The company knew I was doing it, those stores didn't, and I would see what's going on to get a feel for what was happening to figure out what their needs were. And people would say, "Are you the undercover boss?" I said, "No, I'm not." And this particular organization told me that they had a close to 40% turnover, which is, oh my God, horrible, because it costs so much money.
Yeah.
And so this one particular store I went to a few of them, but this one in particular, there was enormous longevity in their leadership in the stores. And so I said to their assistant manager, his name was Dave, and I said, "Why have you been here 22 years when everybody's telling me that nobody sticks around in this company?" And he said to me, "The CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company phones him twice a year on his birthday and on his anniversary."
Awesome.
30,000 employees. Now, not all management, right? So there's maybe 1,000 in management. But that owner did that. The impact that cost him nothing. It gave Dave nothing other than acknowledgement. So if AI can facilitate an opportunity for leaders to be more human, to be more engaged with their people, I'm not saying everyone needs to phone their people, but there is something to that is unbelievable. And let me just say this is not a man who made a lot of money. This is not a big salaried position. This is a fairly, lower middle class salary, but he stuck with this company because that made him feel so good, that he was acknowledged. So I think for leaders, what I talk to them about is, how do we shift the priorities? How do we leverage AI to take away the things that are stopping them from doing things better? And I think it can just be a win-win across the board. I mean, that would be the goal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do you want Engage 3P to be in the next 12 months?
Yeah. My dream obviously is to have more clients, obviously, and to work with companies around the world who get it and who want to do the work. And that's really my only criteria. If it can be small companies, it can be bigger companies, I can work with teams, but I want them to get it. I want them to want to do this kind of work, because Engage 3P is not a big four consulting firm, right? That's not what we're doing. And so if any organization sees the value in this, I'm happy to talk to them and work with them. And I'd like to grow my business as well. I'd like to bring on more people who believe what I do and build a bigger team. That would be my goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So are there any specific KPIs you're tracking right now?
I'm really collecting data around AI usage, right? I want to understand what companies are using, and I'm measuring that against size of companies. So we launched a set of workshops this year. We had our first one start this week. We have three levels of workshop: Foundation, Stability, and Thrive. For small business owners, solopreneurs, and then larger companies and executive leaders. And so that's really great information, understanding where people are. I read a statistic recently that over 98% of businesses in America are small businesses, mom and pops, right? And what was really interesting, just from the jump of starting this week, is they all said the same thing. These very courageous, wonderful new leaders of their own businesses said they were a little afraid. They're afraid to sell. They're afraid to come across as salesy. And so getting that information is what I'm looking at. How do we give people an opportunity to do what they love, to create opportunity for those businesses? We're working with them on their AI skills and on their AI capabilities. And I had a conversation earlier today with someone who's been in the HR field for her whole career, and she's learning about AI and what she's going to do with that and how that's going to help her business. So I think there's a lot of really great opportunity there. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, you mentioned that your goal is to have more clients, do more sales, and close more businesses, I guess.
Sure.
So why is that your goal, and what the specific steps or metrics you as associated that you have to get it done?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I'm a business and I want to do more
Of
business.
course, everybody
I
do.
love what I do, right? I
Hmm.
really love it. I really love this is kind of how I got here, right?
Yeah.
I had been doing some change management consulting with a company, loved the work I was doing, and in fairness, they phoned me. We had a conversation and they said, "Can you stick around for the next couple years?" And 2 days
Awesome.
later, they called me and said the board didn't approve the next phase. We're not moving forward, right?
Yeah,
And that happens all the time.
yeah, of
And so I
course.
thought, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do and do it the way that I love to do it and what's been successful for me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I created the business. And so I think I get so much pleasure when I watch other people get it
Hmm.
and it clicks and they can do something really exciting in their organization and that just feels so good for me.
Awesome. Awesome. If you had a magic wand to fix just one thing in the engagement piece that is holding you back or slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
Oh, my magic wand, of course, is that, 20 new clients call me tomorrow and say, I'm hiring you. That would be my magic wand. Um, I think realistically, not having this challenge of connecting, not having these
Okay.
email challenges and these communication challenges. I really do believe that's the hardest, the biggest inhibitor for me right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so if you're able to solve that, have more sales, more clients, and more, of course, booked more jobs, what would that open for you in the next level? Open for, engage
Yeah.
three Ps.
So I think the next level, as I continue to grow, would be to bring on more people into the organization to do what I do, right? And to develop that. And I think there's really great opportunity. I've had a lot of interest from a number of people who see what I'm doing, love it, and want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think it's absolutely scalable. So it's just a question of how much work is out there, right? I mean, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the next 6 months there'll be enough that I can bring on some new team members and we can support anybody anywhere, right? I say right now, as long as they're English speaking, I can work with them, but
Mhm.
happy to bring on other languages as well if it's in a country that I don't speak the language and bring people in. So
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, again, before, that would be maybe, what's the kind of traction signal are you looking for to make sure you're moving in the right direction of finding more clients, booking more businesses, and of course, growing more team members? Is there any
I, what
traction
I'm
signal? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the traction that I'm seeing, one of the reasons we started the podcast was because we needed to get out there, right? Um, and it's hard today. It's very hard to be seen. It's so hard to compete in general. Um, but I'm getting really good feedback, so that's a phenomenal sign. I had
Mhm.
somebody called me today that saw the podcast yesterday and said, "Oh my God, that was so amazing!" And she actually connected with our guest and loved what he was. So I love that. I love making other people thrive as well.
Mhm.
Um, and so I will say, if anybody wants to be on ours,
Mm.
more than welcome. We love to have
Yes.
guests.
Yes.
Um, I think that's the thing. And then obviously when we start booking business, right? People
Mm.
start to get it, and I think it will. I hate to use this term. I think it will organically grow once
Mhm.
people understand that it's a little bit different. I think people sometimes are afraid of when it's a little bit different. What is it really going to mean?
Mm.
I will say this. It took me a good 6 months maybe a little bit longer, from the time I decided what the business was going to be to really hone it in to to be able to deliver what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I had this idea. I would say to anybody, give yourself some grace
Yes.
to pivot, to listen to other people. I just had a call earlier where someone said, "Listen, I want to give you some recommendations about your logo." I'm like, "I'm
Yeah.
open for anything," right? And he was
Awesome.
right. He gave me a great idea. So I think we have to be open to be a little bit flexible and
Mhm.
and understand, what it is. And then I had something from a former client of mine who really, about 4 months ago, just moved me in an entirely not different direction, but really kind of put her foot down and said, "This isn't going to work. I don't think this is going to work, and here's why." The feedback was harsh
Mm.
because it was, antithetical to what I was doing. But when I sat back and thought about it, I was like, she's right. She's absolutely right. So I did some pivoting. So I think for any new business owner, I think that's really important to be open. And so I continue to say, listen, I can change anything if I need to. Um, and so I'm listening for that. What I'm feeling now is a lot more of, wow, that's amazing. I get it. And so that is so much better than what I was hearing 6 months ago, 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very great. So,
Yeah.
I want to thank you once again. It's very interesting talking to you. And indeed, you really open my eyes in the things that, before maybe I would have glossed over. It's really
Oh,
important, and I appreciate that.
thank
So
you.
we want to say from the bottom of our heart, thank you for honoring our invitation and jumping in such a short space of time. We understand your busy schedule and still made time for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate that.
Fine. But again, the relationship is there. And it's a
Absolutely.
pleasure meeting you, Sarah.
You too, Phoebe. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very much.
much.
I
Have a
appreciate
great
your time.
day.
Have a good day. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye bye.